Cesar Flores. Cesar, welcome. Let's
Thank you.
start
Thank you.
right back. This conversation today is really about, we just had the primaries and how you saw the primaries and what we see for November and a lot of other issues such as 287G. And so let's start it. You've been growing. First of all, congratulations on your third year of law school.
Thank you.
Good to have
Finally there.
Hey, sooner you'll realize that soon you'll be practicing and you'll say, how did I get here? But really, congratulations.
Thank you.
What else has been happening since you last been here?
Well, as we were just talking about right now, my page has actually grown like substantially, especially on Instagram, and I feel like I've been able to connect with the community a lot more, with a lot more different people, and I feel like that's really been great to see how, as more time keeps passing by under the general administration that we're living in, everything going on in Florida and Miami, people are starting to like get more and more frustrated and more vocal about what they're being frustrated about. So
it's great. I mean, it's not great that they're frustrated, but it's great to see that people are now really coming out and really voicing themselves and expressing themselves a lot more. And it's wonderful. What do you think these primaries taught us, or what did we learn from them?
Well, obviously the clear divide in the Democratic Party, right? We have the progressive, or as many might say socialist divide that we have, and with the establishment Democrats. I honestly think that the best, at least for me, the best part of the primaries was Angie Nixon winning. I feel like that was a bombshell that not many people expected. Funny enough, I expected it. I actually saw her winning, and I told a lot of people,
you did.
I was like, she's gonna win. Like I saw the momentum. I saw how she was using her social media really great to connect with people. She even came down here. She went to the trenches in Domino Park to talk con los viejitos there, playing dominoes and answering all those questions. And
how was that reception?
I feel like she was actually well received from what I've been told. She's like a natural organizer, right? She was a union organizer. Formerly, she also is a state legislator. So she definitely has that capacity of being able to meet people where they're at. And I feel like that's what people really need in Florida. We need somebody like her. We need a fighter. As for the rest of the primaries, I think there weren't too many surprises. We have Elia Rodriguez now for the 27th district here in most of Miami-Dade County. We also have Phil Ayer for the 28th district. And yeah, a lot of great candidates. I feel like this year in Dade County, at least, or in South Florida, we have some strong candidates to go forward in November, which I feel like we haven't had in a very long time.
I think in 27, we had definitely two great candidates. Either one would have been awesome. But with Elliot, we're fully behind Elliot. At least I am. And in 28, also as well with Phil Ur. So I think it's time to get united and and really jump on
100%.
board. So what else do we see unpacking that we haven't spoken real quick about?
I feel like a lot of the judicial races were having a bit more focus. The race that was the most concentrated on was Mabel Ruiz and Destiny Alvarez. That to me was a shocker. That to me was a shocker that Mabel Ruiz lost. I have been in her courtroom before and just observing and stuff, and she's a great judge, an amazing legal professional. I feel like what happened in this case was that Destiny Alvarez had a lot of money behind her, a lot of MAGA money, a lot of different people who were trying to get Mabel Ruiz out, in my opinion, to punish her for the whole situation with, the Trump library and her like initially blocking the transfer of that for the Miami-Dade College land and stuff like that. So I feel like I saw her everywhere. Like that campaign was crazy. I've never seen a judicial campaign like that, just out in full force. I feel like that was crazy. It was really interesting to see though, like the difference between the judicial campaign, just me as a legal nerd, and the difference with like a political campaign. It's interesting to see some of the differences.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room, which was really the turnout, the low turnout. What did how can we motivate people to get out for November?
I feel like candidates just have to find different ways of getting creative, right? Of getting their campaigns to be a bit more exciting. As I mentioned earlier, I feel like Angie Nixon did a great job at that. She mobilized a lot of people to vote for her, a lot of people to volunteer, to canvass, to phone bank. And I feel like that's what's missing. We need candidates that will excite us, that will take us to the ballot box and be like, wow, I really want to vote for this person. Whether or not people in Miami love him, most of them hate him. Mamdani is the best example. Like, you know, a young candidate, vibrant, firebrand. He brings people out to vote. You know, there's Republican candidates that do the exact same thing too. So I feel like on both sides of the political spectrum, we need that. We need people who aren't afraid to address the issues, aren't afraid to address what people in Miami and South Florida are really struggling with and going through.
It's interesting that so many of us are struggling here in Miami, but yet we continue to vote for individuals that really are for businesses, and you know, which is great. But at the same time, we need to take care of those individuals. You think that in November will come across, and those individuals will see the light?
I feel like it's starting to budge a little bit. It'll be difficult, but it's going to be a long process. I really am shocked a lot of the time in my comment sections and a lot of my different posts on social media, the amount of people in Miami that still, after seeing everything going on with ICE, which in our city is doing daily raids all over the place, in the situation with the economy, the cost of living, right? Miami became already more expensive than New York. Okay. After all these issues, there are still a good block of people in Miami that continue to support Donald Trump. They continue to support MAGA, continue to support the current regime that we're living under. I don't know what it's going to take. I feel like things have to get even worse, maybe, for them to like really react. Okay. I really don't know. Like at this point, it leaves me dumbfounded sometimes. The things that people say in my comment sections about like, oh yeah, I still support Trump. It's great he's deporting people. Like there was this video, I don't know if you watched it, that came out on Local 10 News that one of the reporters interviewed this guy who was an anonymous Cuban American business owner, right, of a nursery. And the guy has lost like half of his workforce due to these raids. The journalist asked him, hey, do you regret your vote? He said, no. How are you going to not regret your vote if you're going bankrupt? Like, it's just, it's logical. He's like, no, you know, I don't regret it, but I hope things will get better. I don't understand it.
Do you think it's part ideology?
Of course. I think so. I definitely think it's this affinity to like strong men, to people who will tell you what to do, to people that promise you everything, the sun, the moon, and the stars, and then don't deliver whatsoever.
What do you think, you know, these politicians, you know, I consider myself a politician as well. I'm not going to lie to you or to my folks, but what is it that these politicians carry that they bring this ideology with them? And it's like, do I have to be a strong, you know, an arrogant person to lead? No, I mean, I don't know. What do you think? I
think Miami is unique in that sense, right? Because we all come, at least most of us, either from a Latin American background or some kind of immigrant background in the Caribbean or elsewhere in the world. And I feel like, at least in the Latin American perspective, a lot of these politicians, and even a lot of the voting base, a lot of the constituency, brings that mentality of third world Latin American corruption to Miami. And they see themselves reflected in it. And even though they may not consciously know what they're doing, they support it. They want to support candidates that are functioning in that manner, that, you know, are like Trump, you know, que son fuertes. Like it's incredible. You go to Versailles on 8th Street and people are still protesting in favor, not even protesting, celebrating, basically holding mini rallies for Trump. Like, what is going on?
I know, that's crazy.
What is going on? I don't understand. I don't.
And that leads us to 287G. You know, that's something that's still, I mean, deputizing, you know, local municipalities or law enforcement to be able to assist ICE and these raids. Many of us don't approve of that. You've been vocal about it. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So for folks that don't know what 287G is, it's basically an agreement with local police departments that allow for them to enter into partnerships with ICE to basically have their police officers deputized as ICE agents. So they can conduct raids with ICE agents. They can basically carry out the same functions. And most of the cities, if not all of them in the state of Florida, are, you know, connected somehow, including the city of Miami. We've seen several stories come out, several studies. The New York Times said the highest amount of arrests by ICE in the entire country have been in Miami, right? A lot of that has come with support from the police. In particular, the city of Miami, the Miami-Dade County Sheriff's Office, and we've also seen huge collaboration, like more so than any other law enforcement agency in the country, with Florida Highway Patrol. What I've told people, if you see a Florida Highway Patrol car, just consider them to be like an ICE patrol car, like a CBP car. They even now are transporting ICE agents with them in their patrol cars in case the person they pull over is like an immigrant or undocumented, they're like, oh, let's go, like immediately. It's insane how much they're collaborating. And as you said, I created a video the other day basically calling on Eileen Higgins, the mayor of the city, to fulfill her promises. You know, she continues to say, I hate this agreement. It's terrorizing our immigrant community in Miami, but she does nothing about it. And, you know, we keep hearing the same excuse of, oh, it's up to the commissioners to bring this up to vote. I can't really do anything, you know, a weak mayor system. But she's able to sponsor that legislation and put it to the floor to vote on the dais and say, hey, you know, I want this to end. Let's do a vote on it. Whoever votes against it, their political career is going to be at stake because the community spoke. I was there that day at the public comment, and the community was erupting. They were really, really mad. So if she wants to continue being mayor of Miami and not just be a one-term mayor, put legislation forward and just say, hey, here it is. Let's vote on terminating our 287G agreement with ICE, with our police department. Whoever votes against it or for it, it's up to them. But she can then basically shift the blame to them and not her. But for now, I would say she's at fault for still not putting anything forward.
There's other communities or municipalities that have not signed on to the agreement, and they've been, you know, okayed by the law, you know.
Yeah.
So what is it that's really the biggest misunderstanding of 287G?
Yes. So in Tallahassee, we've heard Ron DeSantis say consistently that by law, these municipalities have to join, like their police departments have to join the 287G agreement. That is false. South Miami was the municipality in the state that actually challenged DeSantis and Uthmeier, the Attorney General of Florida, on this law. And their own lawyers admitted in court, the state's own lawyers admitted that there is no obligation for any like local city or municipality to sign on to this agreement. That's a common misconception. That's why I stated in that video, I don't know if she's afraid, if Eileen Higgins is afraid of being removed by Ron DeSantis, as we've seen that he's done in the past with like different political leaders. I don't know if they're afraid of like not getting any state money. Something is going on. There's a political pressure behind the scenes that I'm sure is going on. But by law, they are not forced to. And we already have two commissioners, Christine King and Damian Pardo. They've already stated they are voting in favor of terminating the agreement. We also have Rolando Escalona. You know, I feel he's done a great job. Not a Republican. I'm not a Republican, but I can recognize when a local leader has been doing great. I feel like he's done a great job. He's been refreshing. He even said, you know, that moving, those moving declarations he had on the day is saying that, you know, he's afraid for his own family. And that if he can get assurances that they can do this legally, he would vote also to terminate it. They've already granted those. I have no idea what the holdup is. The only people who are required to be in those agreements are county sheriffs in Florida who have jails to operate. And that's always been that's always been the case, always. But local cities don't have to involve themselves in that. Why is FIU signed on to the 287G agreement? Why is Florida Atlantic University's police department signed on to that? Like, what is going on here?
FIU is just a special. It's just special. I mean, we'll just leave it at that because I feel that FIU really should not be getting involved in that one. And you know, now that you've mentioned FIU, let's talk about the verdict that came down yesterday or the day before regarding the icebreakers.
Absolutely. So that was a great decision, a great opinion by the judge on the federal bench, Judge Becerra, and she was very clear. You know, these students are following 60 years of precedent. They are able to exercise their right to free speech. All they did was put on t-shirts that said ICE off FIU, protesting, you know, the possible presence of ICE on campus on Florida International University. They stood up during an event that the president, Janet Nunez, former lieutenant governor of Florida, was having with like Alex Rodriguez. And they got up in the middle of it, silently protested, and were just showing their shirts saying ICE off FIU. She stated that didn't disrupt anything, wasn't violent, peaceful protest protected by the First Amendment. So she granted a preliminary injunction, which means temporarily they can't sanction these students for that. And they also can't prevent them from continuing to protest in that manner, which is absolutely amazing. And I feel like these students, as I said in my video, have been more courageous, have demonstrated more poise, more intelligence than any of our leaders in South Florida when it comes to this issue.
Do you think 287G and these issues that we're having in immigration will play a role in the November elections?
I hope so. I definitely do, because the community is terrorized. It's terrorized, Gabriel. I feel that terror within my family, within friends, loved ones, in the community at large, people are terrified, even if they're U.S. citizens like you and me, to be able to go out in the street, maybe be racially profiled and be considered to be an illegal alien and be detained, be sent to an ICE detention center. It's terrifying, not only what's going on in Miami but in the entire country with ICE. US citizens have been killed as well. It's become a very hectic and chaotic situation, and I truly hope that will motivate people to go to the ballot box and vote differently, vote for an alternative, vote for something different, because what we have right now is not working.
It's not, and states should not be implementing immigration law. It's a federal law, so really let's leave that to that side of the squirm. What is the biggest opportunity we're facing right now in these elections?
The biggest opportunity?
Yeah.
I would say the biggest opportunity, at least in Florida, is to be able to gain some ground, at least for the Democrats, to be able to flip some state seats, whether that's, state rep, state senate, maybe, if we dream big enough, the governor's mansion, right? I feel like right now is a great opportunity to seize all the issues that the Trump administration has been, bringing upon the country and our communities in particular, to be able to offer alternatives to Florida residents, to citizens of the city of Miami. And I feel like it's going to happen. Again, we have great candidates. I don't know what's going to happen in the governor's race. I feel like that's going to be a very tight race. There are a lot of different things going on there. But I feel like there's a lot of state reps in South Florida, like for running for office for Democrats. We have Lucia Baez-Geller. She's a great candidate. Amazing. We have Richard Lamondon, also a very strong candidate. I feel like we'll have a good amount of people to pick up some seats and at least, start chipping away at that super majority that the GOP has had in Florida for like 30 years.
I like a dark horse, which is Ray Sordo. I just think that, he's really energized. He wants to really do a lot of good. So I think that's an opportunity we have there. I mean, winning the governor's mansion is I think it's a reality with Jolly. Also, we need to take control we need to stop something of that 30-year supermajority, that they haven't had the supermajority for 30 years, but for the last 6 to 10 years, yes, they've had it, and it's about time that we start pecking away at that, chipping away, and that's biggest opportunity I do see as well. Shout out to all the candidates. I wish both R's and D's the best of luck, and also to the non-MPAs as well.
Correct.
But in this scheme of things, we'll take what we can get, and it's all
Absolutely.
good. I can't believe time is already coming down. I mean, we can talk here forever. I mean, just there's so much to speak of. But I really want to go back to Angie Nixon. That was, for me, was the biggest surprise of the whole night. I voted for her because I thought we needed that change, but I voted for her not thinking that she would win. Was I wrong in doing that? It's like, I thought of myself, I'm giving her a chance, but, how do you see now the race between her and her opponent?
I feel like it's going to be a tight race. And going back to your question of how to kind of view that race, she really ran a really great ground operation, right? Throughout the state of Florida. She was very active, canvassing, knocking on doors, phone banking. And I feel like Alex Vindman really depended on, her being a progressive, maybe even her being a black woman, and counting on the racism in Florida to help him win to some extent, right? I don't know. That's just me making assumptions. But I really think he didn't try as hard as he should have if he was, really intending on winning. And Angie really, just fought it out completely the entire time. And I feel like with respect to her race with Ashley Moody's not a strong candidate. She's not meant to even be a senator. She was placed there, not even by DeSantis, by Trump. Like, here's a gift for, being in the right place at the right time in Florida. She's not a strong candidate. She's not a natural politician. She should have stayed as an attorney, left into the private sector, never to be heard of or seen of again. And I feel like Angie has a great shot at turning this into a flippable Senate seat that no one saw coming. Nobody saw this coming, right? What I am concerned about is the amount of people in the media trying to sabotage her. We've seen like interview after interview on mainstream media platforms, like huge channels, all they ask her about is, oh, you're in the DSA, Hassan Piker, you're a socialist. Like, she's trying to talk about all the substantive issues, and they're just continuously trying to sabotage her. I believe it's because she's not an establishment candidate. Again, like you said, most of the people in Florida didn't believe she would win. I don't know why. I just saw it coming. I was like, yeah, she's gonna win, and she also won by a large margin. It wasn't by a little bit. It wasn't close, that surprised me. I thought it was going to be close, but she did win by a lot. And, I feel like she's turned this into something competitive. Obviously, it's an uphill battle. It's going to take some time to continue to build that coalition in Florida, but I hope it really will turn into something great, and that she flips a Senate seat in Florida to blue. That would be amazing.
Awesome. As we wrap up today, Cesar, quick answers, no speeches. What was the biggest surprise of 2026 primary?
I would say Angie Nixon.
Biggest disappointment?
Mabel Ruiz.
Okay. Most important issue for November?
Cost of living.
Okay. You know what? I went knocking on doors the other day, and that's all people kept saying. So, yes, you're right. Most overrated political issue?
Overrated?
Overrated.
Foreign policy with Latin America, Cuba, Venezuela, all that.
Most underrated?
Underrated. That's a good question. I would say...
Angie Dixon.
Fears of people wanting, with democracy, scared of democracy crumbling.
And to close, what is the one thing that local Miami voters really don't understand?
They don't understand that progressive does not mean communism. That doesn't mean Fidel Castro. It doesn't mean Hugo Chavez. It's a different way of thinking, and certain policies that progressive candidates are putting forward are the same policies that would benefit us all in Miami, and that we're looking for solutions for.
Listen, thank you for talking directly to us, and bringing it real. I congratulate you on your continuing your success.
Thank you.
On the social media platforms, on your school. Mi casa su casa. You'll be welcome to be back here after the elections, and we'll wrap up. We'll debrief for that one. But seriously, thank you for always coming back, and you're always welcome.
Of course.